made during Trump's first term. So I wanted to correct that. I assumed because the tariff was 200% that there would be no way we could export any dairy into Canada. Well, we do. So I incorrectly said, I stated that the tariff was only 200%, and I also stated that we exported no dairy. But we do. But we are capped at how much we can sell to them. And at that cap, the tariff would kick in. So I wanted to correct that. And I wanted to thank Steve Dogs, one of my channel members, for correcting me and for making sure I state correct information. Now, we may not agree on everything else. That is simply opinion. But for facts, I want to get them right. So thank you. So let's take a look at this house. This is a ranch home. And I just do a couple of exterior pan shots of the exterior from different angles. And then I merge those together. This part I fast forward. So it looks like I'm going into the house. That part is like fast forwarded. But this is raw footage. This is the back of the home. It does have a screened-in porch. This is walking in the front door. And as you walk in, you have this open, formal dining room. Now, this room could actually be used for anything, but these people have it set up as a formal dining room. You'll see when we go into the kitchen that there's actually another dining room. So this is one bedroom. This is currently being used as a home office for the husband. And this is the main floor hall bath. And it is a full bath because it does have a shower. This is bedroom number 2, which is currently being used for the wife, for her home office. These are 2 bedrooms. Now we go back out to the hallway, which this is a large foyer. And we go straight, we go into the living area. The fireplace is a gas fireplace. There's a light switch that turns it on and off, which makes it easy. And we're going to take this entrance into the kitchen. This is a laminate counter, which is a negative, and it has black appliances, which is a negative. But I think that when these folks bought the home, they were trying to save, because they built this home brand new. You could see that other dining area. It's plenty big enough that you don't need a dedicated laundry room, but this is a screened-in porch, which is nice. Yeah. The floor is epoxy in this screened-in porch, as well as out here on the patio, which is nice because you don't have to stain it or anything. So yeah, this area is plenty big enough for a large dining table because they have one sitting there, and so I would use that front room as something else. Now we are walking into the laundry area, which is also the mechanical room where the furnace, water heater, and water softener are. Now we walk out into the garage. It is a 2-car garage. You can see that my folks have a lot of their items in the tubs ready to move. And back into the laundry room. And now we are going to head this master bedroom, one for him and one for her. But I didn't open his closet, but in here, this is the master bath. It does have double sinks, and it does have a separate shower and tub. So there is which is why do people want that? I don't know. They want a separate shower, separate tub, rather than having the shower as the tub. I think because they're just easier to get into. That's the homeowner there. She's obviously not on the footage from the completed video, but she made her debut in an ASMR reality video. These people that I'm representing, they are moving to Florida, to the Villages. And what is interesting about this situation is many years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I had a situation where I got a phone call, and it was someone from the Villages, and she had called into the office where I work, and she had asked the person who answered the phone. I don't go to work. I work from home. Like, I rarely go to the real estate office that holds my license. But anyway, the Villages, this lady from the Villages calls my office, and not looking for me. She calls the office and she asks the receptionist, "Who is your top agent in your office?" And she got my name, and she got the number. Then she called me, and she told me this situation where she has some people that are buying a home there that don't have an agent, and would I be open to selling their house because they were moving from here? And I said, sure, I would love to do it. It's a referral. So she's going to take 30% of my paycheck. Like, whatever I get for selling that house, she will get 30% of that, of my pay. Not 30% of the price of the house, but 30% of whatever I make belongs to her. That's how a referral works. Anyway, I was able to sell that house. She made the referral, and it was great. Well, what I didn't know is just how many old people are moving to Florida, to the Villages. It's just in this small area of central Indiana, there are a ton of people leaving. So over the years, this lady, I treated her like gold because I thought, she was doing me a favor. I did not have that deal if she wouldn't have called me. So giving up that money is something that you want to do as an agent, because it's going to come back to you when you send people deals too. It's a two-way street. You send referrals and you receive referrals. But this is how I got these people. So this lady calls me I would say I've probably since then, since my first one, this is probably my 10th referral from the Villages. And that's how I met this couple. They are retired and now going to spend out their last remaining years there. Everybody gets tired of the cold in the winter when they get old. I think cold makes bones feel worse. Arthritis and joints, I think the cold makes those worse. And it's as you get older, it's more dangerous if you fall and slip on snow or ice, and it takes a pretty hardy individual to endure all the seasons. A lot of people don't have to, like in Southern California, they don't really have to endure all the seasons. They have much a consistent, relatively consistent climate all year round. But here we have this super hot, humid summers. We have the falls, which are nice. We have the winters, which it just depends. We went 3-4 years without really much of any. This past winter it seemed a little longer than normal, and we had some pretty good snows, a couple of them. Just makes it a hassle. And but yeah, people want to leave that, so that's why these people want to leave. They're old, they're ready to go, they're tired of dealing with the cold. And so the house is now for sale. I did an open house there today, but when I had the photos, I forgot to do a thumbnail, and it's hard to come up with thumbnails for a house that I know I'm doing. It's hard for me to I'm not a Photoshop expert on making my own. I do make my own thumbnails, but it's easiest when I have a house I'm showing just to take a picture of myself. But having the photographer there and dealing with the homeowners, it's easier to focus when I'm doing an empty house. But when I've got my clients with me, it's I'm not out there taking selfies of myself, At any rate, so yeah, that was I'm just happy to have this deal because it's again part of that. It just goes to show that first impressions matter, and how you treat other people matters. And I think it's one of the things that we have declined in America, is how we treat each other. There was a day where the world admired American vehicles, and because we built the best, and we had pride, and I think we've lost a lot of the pride in our country. And working has just become something if people don't like it, it's we don't accept that it's something we have to do. We all wish we could do something else rather than just endure it and get through it. We are taught the best thing to do is to pursue what you love, pursue your passion. If you do what you love for work, then it's not work. Well, okay, I love dogs, but I wouldn't have a paid off house if I was just a dog walker my whole life. I might, but it wouldn't be this one. I think the better message to send to people is to find something that you can do and do well, and that will also pay you decent. And that's just what we have to do. And I know, listen, it's for some people, they can. Tiger Woods can play golf, and maybe it never felt like work to him. But I would have to think that press conferences and flying to different courses and the travel and never being at home, there are negatives to stardom as well. All of his personal life displayed over on TV, It's, I don't know. The world is just, it's just hard. Life is just hard. And it's got moments of glory. We all have those moments where we just have pure happiness in a moment. Maybe it's we're watching a movie and we're not thinking about anything else in our life, and we're totally captivated, and we have a true escape into moments of happiness. And I think that that's what we strive for, the moments, but that the rest of it is struggle. It's effort, and but it's what we have to do. It's like there's part of it is like, I remember when I first started in real estate, I just loved it. I just loved it so much mainly because it was just so much better than working at the dealership. And now, 6 years later, it's because of the repetition. It's that now every home is like, it's something different, but it's the same thing. I've got to take photos, I've got to do video, I've got to come home, I've got to write a description, I've got to load everything up, I've got to have room dimensions, and it's robotic now. I'm robotic at it, and it's not as challenging as it used to be. Now I could try to work more and make more money by selling more homes and try to push myself, but I don't want that's just gonna be a little bit more money. That's not really even gonna change my life. It's not gonna change my life. If I made another $200,000 this year, I wouldn't go buy a jet. I wouldn't buy a Ferrari with the extra money. I mean, after you pay tax on it, it's only $160. So it's like with $160,000, yeah, I just save it, or it's not. I can't even I can't build a new building for the animals. I can't. That won't even buy a piece of ground for it. And then if you spend it on something like that, you've got more expense. Now you've got bigger overhead, and everything creates, it's like the law of unintended consequences. No matter what you plan, likely there's going to be something along the way that you didn't anticipate. And you have to plan for that. You have to know that there's likely going to be something that you couldn't have possibly planned for, that wasn't in the path, I don't know how we can get our pride back. I don't know. I think my method for maintaining sanity and actually being able to treat my fellow man how I would want to be treated, how to do it with a positive attitude, with a servant's mindset, with humility, and with respect for my fellow man. Mine is the acceptance of expectations that I don't expect to be happy. I don't expect unreasonably good service. I just think if you're going to a place of business, you should expect to be treated decent. And if somebody surpasses that, then that's great. But too often today, it's not the case. You can tell that, that our society we're all distracted. We all have phones. I mean, you've probably seen videos online where people are showing, like you go to a restaurant and all you see are people with their face in their phones. And of course I see it too all the time, people looking at their phones. Heck, I'm with my clients and they're looking at their phones. I'm looking at my phone, right? We're all doing it. But the other day I went to lunch with a friend of mine, and we were in line, and he looked over. It was like you walked down this lane, but there were tables on the sides where people were basically eating, but there's there's a half wall on each side of the line up to the register where you order. Then you go sit down, and when they call your number, you go up and grab your food. Anyway, we're standing there in line getting ready to place our order, and he looks over and he said, "Look at that." And there were five kids and a mom. It was 5 kids and a mom sitting at a table. All six had their face in their phone, not one of them talking to each other. And it was the most extreme example that I have seen of the disconnect. And the irony is that we're connected so much more because of these devices, but at the same time they seem to have caused a shift, or maybe these aren't the cause, but something has caused a shift in our society, I think. I was talking to a friend of mine the other night, and he is a second generation Indian, meaning that his parents immigrated from India when they were adults. They had him here, so they came here legally and immigrated. They became citizens. They had him. He's obviously a citizen, and they raised him here in America. And so he is the second generation. But his parents did not get raised in an American. They didn't get raised in America, so they weren't taught like American pride, American culture, like loving the founding fathers. Like when they were taught history, they were taught it in India. You know, they didn't get instilled with those values as a child, and it is typically as a child that we develop our basically our moral code is basically instilled in us when we are kids. That's why, you know, if you're a Christian today, it's likely that your parents taught you that the Bible is the Word of God, and you got here because of Adam and Eve, and Jesus is going to come back someday. That you know how you got here and what happens to you when you die because you were taught that, and you held on to it. In the same way that if you were taught America is great and the founding fathers did something fascinating with our country, and you were instilled with love of country, then you might pass that on to your kids and repeat the cycle. Your kids are likely going to be Christian, your kids are likely going to be patriots, and so on. But that as it goes, that there are many people that I have heard that believe that you should have to be a third generation immigrant to be able to be eligible to run for office. Their reasoning, Ann Coulter is one that I have heard say this, and I don't agree with this, by the way, but I'm just telling you that this is a school of thought, and it's interesting. The theory being that that person is farther detached and has been immersed in the American culture long enough to have absorbed more of it because they were raised by parents that were raised in America. So the second generation child was the child of people that were not raised in America, so they couldn't pass a lot of those. They had no history of being a child in America, so they could not possibly be the same. So at any rate, that's just an example of how, because of immigration, a lot of people, it's like we don't we don't require assimilation anymore. We celebrate diversity, not what holds us together, right? We celebrate our differences instead of our similarities. I don't know how that happened. I think that could be a big part. That could kind of, if we could historically look at the diversity movement, maybe we could see that caused some division in our society. That, again, I don't want us to wear uniforms, and I don't want to see you when I look in the mirror. Like, I don't want us to be the same. We should love each other for our differences, but we should celebrate what makes us the same. And we are so much more the same than we are different. We should enjoy our differences. Like, I love eating other, like going to get Italian food or Mexican food or Chinese food. I love it. I love diverse culture, but I think that we should celebrate what unites us. What instead of what is different. Enjoy what is different, but celebrate what unites us and our similarities. Yeah. That's just my thought on it. Somehow, some way, we've got to get back to that greatness, that what made us great. When like you walked, if I walked to my mailbox, occasionally some people still wave, but I am in central Indiana. There's more of that here than big cities. I know that. So I just think respect for our fellow man is needed. It's needed. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how that can be done. I really don't. I think 24-hour news has affected life as well, because everybody is used to, it's like people weren't really into politics, right? They did their own thing, and they just kind of stayed out of it. When it was time to vote, they voted. And I think that in the past, there have been contentious elections forever, but there have been kind of eras where it was like one choice or the other. It's not going to change much, right? Where the sides were not that different. But I do feel like directionally, it does seem like these sides are more different now. So that's another issue. But I don't know. I would just love to see somehow, for American pride to come back. Like, I even want to get a Ford Raptor Bronco, a Bronco Raptor. I'd like to have one. And I thought, my Venza, I've had it for several years now, and it's my daily driver, so I don't want anything real big. But I don't know. I haven't bought an American car because I worked for Toyota for all those years, and I thought, I myself am not even walking that talk. I'm not buying American products, but it's just, I don't know. It's then you think, okay, but what's wrong with us all just being one, right? Why do we even have to be divided at all? Why can't everything just be good? I think we know that's a utopia. It's a dream, but I don't know. I think that would be going back to those cultural differences, that those things that divide us, that make us different. Like, China has a different idea about freedom than we do. its citizens than America does. North Korea, way stricter. You know, some Muslim countries that have Sharia law, way stricter. Those people are not just going to lay down and say, no, we're going to be this way. And I think that too, it's like a culture does breed a certain type of citizen. And that's where I believe that we have to find that again. That's why I think the family is so important. I use my own family as an example. My mom and dad are divorced. My brother is divorced. My sister is divorced. My other sister is divorced. And one of my brothers is dead. And I've never been married. And my mom has been divorced another time after she left my dad. My brother raised his as a single father. The mom was not rarely in the picture. And my sister, her husband, hung himself. The father of her daughter hung himself. They were remodeling their bedroom, and so they had the drywall off of the ceiling. Well, their bed, they still slept in the room that night, but the drywall was off the ceiling. He put a rope on the rafter, and she was laying beside him that night while she was sleeping. He just laid back and just laid on the bed, but let that cut off his oxygen, and she woke up, and that's how he was, gone. I mean, people live through unbelievable things, but I believe that had my mother and father kept their vows to each other till death did them part, if they would have took those vows seriously and stayed, you know, through thick and thin, that they would have, we all would have been in a different situation. Every one of us kids, my brother would probably still be alive, you know, but things happen. People are infallible. Aren't infallible. I don't know. I don't know. I've never made the vow, you know, and it's because of all of that noise. It's like, it's just, I don't know. It's made me who I am, I think. You know, it's made me a skeptic. But it's caused me to really, I think it's made me a thinker. Because I try to think about the problems and how to fix them. And I think that's what makes me unique. So in essence, you know, I look at it without regret. I don't wish I had a mom and dad that stayed together. I just have to be thankful for what it is and deal with these consequences of that. But I find also the beauty in appreciating that I was born here and not in North